Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into something that's really picking up steam, quantum computing.
Definitely.
And we're not talking theory anymore. 2025 has, well, it's seen some pretty big leaps into actual applications.
Real world stuff, yeah. You've got huge names involved now, like Microsoft, Amazon, even JP Morgan.
Right. That tells you something, doesn't it? It's serious.
It signals a real shift, I think, moving beyond just the academic labs.
So that's our goal for this deep dive.
Yeah.
Figure out what these key breakthroughs from the last year actually are.
Uh-huh. And maybe why it's all happening so fast right now.
Exactly. And the big question, maybe, how close are we really, to these machines solving problems we just couldn't before?
The million-dollar question, or maybe $1 billion now.
Huh, maybe. Okay, let's start with Microsoft. Early 2025, they announced the Majorana 1 chip. That made waves.
Huge waves, yeah, the Majorana 1. The really significant thing there is the type of qubit they're using, topological qubits.
Topological. Okay, I've heard the term, but what does it actually mean in practice? Why is it a big deal?
Well, see, the concept itself isn't brand new. It's been theorized for ages, like the Holy Grail almost.
Right.
But actually building it, demonstrating it works at scale, that's the breakthrough. It's fundamentally different from, say, superconducting qubits or trapped ions.
How different? What's the advantage?
Okay, think about standard qubits. They're incredibly fragile. Tiny vibrations, temperature changes, poof, the quantum state collapses. That's decoherence, and it causes errors.
The big enemy of quantum computing, right?
Yeah.
Errors.
Exactly. So the topological core architecture, that's what Microsoft calls it, is designed for stability. The quantum information isn't stored in one tiny spot like a single particle spin. It's encoded in the overall structure, the topology of these quasi-particles. It's like, imagine braiding rope. The pattern, the braid itself, is more robust than a single thread.
Okay, so the information is sort of smeared out, making it harder to mess up.
Precisely. It has built-in protection against noise, against decoherence, that's the theory, and now, seemingly, the practice with Majorana 1.
And the benefits of that stability are?
Well, two big ones. First, easier scaling. Fewer errors means you don't need quite as much overhead for error correction, potentially letting you build bigger, more useful processors faster.
Okay.
And second, faster processing, and crucially, fewer calculation errors in the first place. You get more reliable results.
Makes sense. And Microsoft sounds pretty bullish about this. They're talking real-world impact soon.
Very optimistic. They're pointing towards things like drug discovery, designing new molecules, understanding biology better. Also, material science, finding new materials, even climate modeling.
Within years, they're saying.
That's the hope, yeah. Within the next few years. It's ambitious, no doubt, but Majorana 1 is, well, it's a pretty compelling first step.
Okay, so that's Microsoft tackling stability. Let's switch gears. Amazon, AWS, they also had a chip announcement in 2025, Ocelot.
Different focus.
Completely different focus, yeah. Ocelot is all about quantum error correction.
Yeah. Ah, the other big hurdle.
The other big hurdle, exactly.
Right.
We just talked about topological qubits maybe needing less correction, but all current quantum computers need some error correction to be useful for complex problems. They're just too noisy otherwise.
So Ocelot is like a specialized helper chip just for fixing errors.
That's a good way to put it. It's hardware specifically designed to make the process of finding and fixing quantum errors much, much more efficient.
How much more efficient are we talking?
Their claim is pretty dramatic. They're suggesting it could reduce the cost, meaning the resources, the number of physical qubits you need for error correction by up to 90%.
Wow, 90%. That seems huge. What does that mean practically?
It's potentially a game changer for building these things. If you need way fewer physical qubits to create one reliable, error-corrected logical qubit.
Logical qubit being the useful kind you actually compute with.
Right. Then suddenly, the machines don't have to be quite so enormous. They could be smaller, maybe consume less power, cost less to build and run. It makes the whole prospect more, well, practical. And for Amazon, being a cloud provider, making it smaller, cheaper, more accessible, that fits their model, right?
Absolutely. It signals their strong belief that quantum computing isn't just some far-off dream. It's something they expect to scale and offer via the cloud relatively soon. Ocelot is a big step towards making that feasible.
Okay, interesting. So we have Microsoft on qubit stability, Amazon on error correction efficiency. Let's pivot again. The financial sector, JP Morgan Chase, they did something different.
Yeah, really interesting application. They focused on security, specifically using quantum computers, Quantinuum's hardware, actually to generate random numbers.
Random numbers. Okay, I mean, my computer generates random numbers. Why do you need a quantum computer for that?
Ah, but does your computer generate truly random numbers? Classical computers use algorithms. They produce pseudo-random numbers,
Pseudo-random, meaning
meaning they look random, but if you knew the starting point, the seed, and the algorithm, you could predict the sequence. They're deterministic.
I see. Not truly unpredictable.
Exactly. And that unpredictability is absolutely vital for cryptography. Secure encryption, financial transactions, online security, it all relies on randomness that can't be guessed or reverse engineered.
And quantum mechanics offers true randomness.
That's the key. Certain quantum processes are inherently probabilistic, fundamentally random. JP Morgan developed an algorithm to harness that quantum randomness.
And they call them certified random numbers.
Right. That certified part is important. It implies they have a way to verify, to prove that these numbers meet a high standard of randomness, making them much more secure than pseudo-random numbers for cryptographic keys and things like that.
So this is like one of the first commercial uses we're seeing, something beyond just research.
Definitely one of the early, very practical, commercially relevant applications. Taking quantum out of the lab and using it to solve a real business problem in this case, enhancing digital security. It's a significant milestone.
It really shows the breadth, doesn't it? Tech, cloud, now finance finding uses. What about governments they must be watching closely? DARPA, for instance.
Oh, absolutely. Governments are heavily involved. DARPA's Quantum Benchmarking Initiative is a prime example. They're asking a very pointed question.
Which is?
Can quantum computers achieve what they call utility-scale performance by 2033?
Utility scale, meaning they can actually do useful stuff better than classical computers.
Precisely. Not just a theoretical speed up on some obscure problem, but reliably outperforming our best supercomputers on problems that actually matter, real-world, impactful problems.
And they're funding companies to figure this out.
Yeah, they've partnered with several key players, Rigetti, IonQ, and Quantinuum, again, the ones JP Morgan worked with. They're evaluating different approaches.
What are they measuring? How do you benchmark a quantum computer for utility?
It's multifaceted. They're looking at qubit stability, obviously,
Mm.
how well the quantum states hold up,
Uh-huh.
scalability, can you actually build bigger, more interconnected machines, and critically, can they demonstrate quantum advantage? Can they solve a meaningful problem faster or better than any classical machine could, realistically?
And if they hit that 2033 target, what are the implications maybe for DARPA's interests, the military?
Well, the potential applications are huge. Complex simulations, designing new materials for armor or aircraft, maybe modeling fluid dynamics, logistics, optimizing troop movements or supply chains on a scale classical computers struggle with.
And the big one, code breaking.
That's always the elephant in the room, yes. The potential to break current encryption standards is a major driver for national security interests, both offensively and defensively.
Right. Okay, so alongside these giants and government efforts, there are startups making noise too. Sandbox AQ, they came out of Google, right?
That's right. Sandbox AQ spun out of Google. And their focus is really interesting. It's the intersection of AI and quantum computing. AQ, AI, and quantum.
The synergy between the two. And they've raised a lot of money.
A huge amount. They had another big round in April 2025, adding $150 million from Google, NVIDIA, BNP Paribas. Big names. That brought their total Series E funding close to $500 million.
$500 million. What exactly are they doing with all that cash? What's their core idea?
They're developing something called large quantitative models, or LQMs. Think of them as like AI models supercharged by quantum.
How so?
They're building AI systems designed to leverage quantum algorithms, using quantum computation to accelerate training or tackle parts of problems that are classically intractable for AI. It's about using each technology's strengths.
So AI enhanced by quantum. What kind of problems are they applying this to now?
They're already working in areas like, again, drug discovery simulating molecules with much higher fidelity. Material science is another big one. And financial modeling, developing more sophisticated risk analysis or fraud detection algorithms.
So it's another clear sign that quantum isn't just theory anymore. It's becoming a tool for industry.
Exactly. Sandbox AQ really highlights this trend of moving towards practical industrial applications, and specifically the idea that quantum might often be used in combination with other advanced tech like AI, not just in isolation.
Looking across all this, Microsoft's stable qubits, Amazon's error correction focus, JP Morgan's security angle, DARPA's utility push, Sandbox AQ blending AI and quantum, it really feels like an explosion of progress.
It absolutely does. I mean, think back just 5 years before 2025. Quantum was still mostly in university labs, maybe a few skunkworks projects at big tech firms.
Right, very experimental.
Now you have new chips being announced regularly, new algorithms being developed, actual applications starting to roll out, and serious money being invested. It's a completely different landscape.
The pace seems incredible. New chips, new algorithms, real applications, big investments.
It's all happening. But, it's still important to keep some perspective.
How so?
Well, as exciting as all this is, we're likely still in the very early days.
Hmm.
Think about classical computing, these breakthroughs. They might be analogous to the invention of the first transistor.
Okay. Foundational, but not yet the integrated circuit or the personal computer.
Exactly. The transistor proved the concept, it opened the door, but the truly world-changing applications, the things that reshape society, took decades more to develop. We're probably seeing the building blocks being put in place now.
So 2025 feels like a turning point, a definite acceleration, but the biggest transformations from quantum computing are probably still ahead of us.
That's likely the wisest perspective, I think. The progress is real, the potential is enormous, and 2025 was clearly a landmark year. But the full impact, we're just starting to glimpse it. The truly revolutionary stuff is likely still down the road.
It's been incredibly insightful mapping out these advances. You can really feel the momentum building in quantum computing. The implications, as you say, could be massive for science, tech, maybe everything.
It's certainly one of the most exciting fields to watch right now.
So that leaves us, and you listening, with a final thought to chew on. Based on everything we've deep dived into today, all these advancements from 2025, does it feel like we're genuinely on the cusp of that quantum revolution? Or is there still a fair bit of, let's say, enthusiastic hype mixed in with the real progress? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.